Man, I'm fired up to be here with you. Sit forward in your seat, grab some water, be hyper present, and let's go freaking see if we can change your life here in the next 28 minutes and see if we can add value and serve you in a way that we take not only your career to a new level, but that you really recognize who you really are. You step into the one you were born to be. So pre-COVID, this is 2019. I lived up in Salt Lake City, Utah. If any of you have ever been up in Salt Lake City, beautiful during the summer, and it is best snow on earth, freezing cold in the winter, right? I have an early morning flight. At about 5 a.m., I call an Uber. Someone say yes in the chat if you've ever had a weird Uber experience. Am I the only one that's ever had a weird Uber experience? Okay. This guy pulls in. It's icy and rainy and sleety and gray and dark. It's 5:30 in the morning. I have a hoodie on. I've got like a scarf on. I've got a coat. I put my bag in his trunk. I get in the car, and because I have a headache, I didn't want to travel that day. I'm exhausted, but out of respect for him, I say, "Good morning, how are you?" 5:30 in the morning, this guy goes, "If I was any better, my name would be Justin." I was like, "What the heck is happening?" I like look up from my phone. I'm like, "Okay, now listen, I'm all about enthusiasm. Don't get me wrong." But I was like, "Okay." And I go, "What got you into driving for Uber?" And he goes, "My cats." He said, "My cats don't meow, they roar." And he says, "So I got to wake up at 5 in the morning to feed the cats." And he goes, "Listen, I have work till 8:30, so I might as well drive for Uber for 3 hours." I'm like, "Okay, makes a lot of sense." I said, "What do you do for work at 8:30?" And he said, "I'm the co-founder of an $87 million tech company in Provo, Utah." This guy is a multi-millionaire whose cats don't meow, they roar. So he drives for Uber for 3 hours in the morning. Here's the moral of the story. Everyone look at the slides of the faces that you can see on this Zoom. If you need to scroll across real quick, here's what I want you to know, my friends. Oftentimes, we don't recognize the true identity of the person sitting next to us. You know who you're on here with, right? You're on here with the one. Over the last 4,000 or over the last 12 generations, think of your mom and dad, think of your grandparents, think of your great grandparents. My friends, over the last 12 generations, 400 years, there was 4,094 people. Write this in your notes, write this in the chat. 4,094 people from all over the world that came together to create you. You're the one. You are the one these folks lived for, bled for, cried for, died for, gave everything they had for, was for you to have this moment. Your life matters. Your life has value and purpose and meaning, and you are the one that these folks did it. So when I wrote the book, Be the One, it wasn't become the one. You are the one. Success is an identity process. You're never going to outperform the way you see yourself. You see yourself as a loser, you're not going to show up and play like a winner. If you see yourself as a winner, you're not going to roll over and quit like a loser. It wouldn't be true with your identity. You're the one, my friends. You're the one that the 4,094 people did this for. The challenge and the invitation for all of us is to be the one today. Be the one that lives a life. Be the one that writes a story. Be the one that makes a difference. Be the one that makes an impact that future generations of kids, when they look up into their family lineage, they say, "It was her," or "It was him. She's the one for our family. He's the one that taught us the economic principles. She's the one. The addiction stopped with her. The abuse ended with him. It's my great grandma, my great grandpa." And they're telling your story. You're the one. So that's the first concept. Now, the second thing I want to encourage you to think about is this. I want to see if we can just go next level. If you're ready for the next level in your life and your business, put next level in the chat. By the way, you know how it is. That's why we're here today. We're here to level up a little bit, get the skills, get the tools, get the inspiration, get the tactical training that we need to level up. That's why I admire people like Ira that put us all together and say, "Hey, listen, invest some of your money, invest some of your time. You're going to pay me no money today, but you're going to invest your time. Your time is more valuable. So you're using your time to level up. I honor you. I respect you for this." So if we're going to do it, if you're going to think big, in 1666, Christopher Wren was commissioned to rebuild St. Paul's Cathedral. It had burned down. 1666 or 1671, 5 years later, he walks up on the job site and he sees men working, laying bricks. He says to the first man, he says, "Sir, what are you doing?" And the guy says, "I'm a bricklayer. I'm laying bricks to feed my family." That's cool. Walks a little further, says the next man, "Sir, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm a wall builder. I'm building a wall." Walks a little further, says to the third person, "Sir, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm a cathedral builder. I'm building a cathedral to the Almighty." My friends, they were all doing the same work, but they all looked at themselves and their identity inside of the work differently. Some were laying bricks, some were building walls, some were building empires. What if the work you're doing, we could go to a whole different level? What if we could go from doing the grind of the work to building empires? What the work you're doing is empire building work. Your empire, not just for you, but for your family and the people that are the most important and closest to you. The magic of thinking big, I can sum up the whole book for you in 7 words. I'd encourage you to write these down. The book summed up for you in 7 words is this: you are what you think you are. In other words, if you're an empire builder, you start showing up differently. You start thinking differently. You start working differently. When you're doing a listing appointment, it's not just a listing appointment. It's part of the empire. When you're training an agent, it's not just training an agent to train an agent. It's you're building an empire. So if you're ready for empire, the next level to me is empire building. My folks got divorced when I was 12, came from a kind of a middle-class family, moved 13 times in the 7 years to the teenage years. I have no professional background. I was making pizzas, doing construction work. Used to work in a mall selling animated Bible videos. The mall, by the way, let's just talk about the mall. Does anyone remember the mall? So for all of you young people watching, let us educate you. The mall is where all of us old people used to go when the Amazon was a river. Okay, we would hang out at this place called the mall. In fact, some of you will remember these days, we would actually walk around this mall and in circles, and we would try and avoid eye contact with the mall workers, the kiosk workers, because they would suck you into their mall kiosk. That was me. I was the one that sold you Bible videos out of the mall kiosk, okay? I had big dreams and big goals. I hope you do too. I hope you have that dream. Your dreams fuel for your soul. And I had this little baby boy. People said to me, why did you start your business? And I used to give them all these, I don't know, what I thought was a sophisticated answer. I'd ask you the same question. Why did you start your business? I would say things like, I wanted to build a financial asset for my family. All that. No. I wanted to make my little boy proud of me. That was the real reason. I wanted my wife to be proud of me, you know? That first business failed, below zero financially, back on credit cards, back on taxes. I moved my pregnant wife and our now 2 kids into the loft of my wife's parents' garage. We got 2 babies sleeping in the closet. My wife and I are sleeping in this little loft area. And man, I was grinding trying to put this thing together. This is me selling animated Bible videos on the side of the road in Mesa, Arizona, 16 hours from where I live. I eventually figured it out in that company. This is speaking for 6,000 people at a big company event. Traveled all over the world, speaking in Moscow and Omsk, Russia, and Almaty, Kazakhstan. This is a message for the fellas, by the way. Fellas, this is a free tip. Let your wife pack your bags when you travel, okay? Because I thought this outfit would look really cool. Anyway, it didn't look as cool as I was hoping. It didn't age as well as I was hoping. 11, I guess it's 12 years ago this August. 12 years ago, I came into a company, a couple $100 million a year business, 8 years in a row of double-digit decline in a year in revenue, going the wrong direction. And we put together a new business model, basically ripped this company to the floorboards and restarted. And using that new business model and so on, we did 2.5 billion in revenue over the next decade with that company, millions and millions of customers. I've spoken in 30 plus countries around the world. Now, when we talk empire, when we talk you going to the next level, I wrote the book. We talked about Be the One, this idea of helping you to be the one you were born to be. What I'm most proud about is my family. Now, my son, that oldest boy, he's actually 20 years old now. He's doing a 2-year mission service in West Virginia. So he's not pictured in this picture. He's a super special kid. But my friends, this is what I'm the most proud of. For sure, by far. I'm a daddy first. I'm a husband first. I believe that no success that we have outside of our homes can compensate for the failure in our homes. So this is the work that we have to do, is the important work of getting both our life and then ultimately our houses in order. So 3 steps to empire building. Step 1 is to learn the one thing. How many of you, someone write the word Maxwell in the chat if you're familiar with John Maxwell. Even you guys have read any of his books, like the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, or you've listened to his stuff or whatever. John Maxwell is a special guy. Inc. magazine said he's the world's foremost authority on leadership. I've done a bunch of work for him. He actually did the foreword to my book. One of the trips I did was with him in Costa Rica. And it was we're teaching leadership principles and leadership values into these developing countries. It was a small group of us. And guys, check this out. It was just a surreal experience. Like one of the spots we stopped at was the U.S. Embassy with the U.S. ambassador. So it's like me, the U.S. ambassador, John Maxwell. I'm like, what is happening right now? Or another one, we went to the police graduation for 3,000 police cadets. Or another one was at the National Theater where they had it was like a black tie event for all the business people. We went to the head of FIFA, met the soccer team. It was crazy. One of the stops was at a local university where they had about 500 students, 500 college students. And if you've ever seen John speak, he'll do just what he's doing in this picture here. He'll sit on a stool next to a table and he'll read his iPad. It's the craziest thing. He's got such rich content. It's just really powerful stuff. So we have 500 college students. Let's call it 17 to 21, 22. John Maxwell's got gray hair. He's in his 70s. Next to his table is a guy named Juan Veraken, JV. That's his interpreter, best interpreter I've ever seen. So John's teaching and he goes like this. He goes, if there was only one thing I could share with you students, he's like in the middle of a flow. He's flowing, doing his thing, and all of a sudden he just stops. And he puts his hand on the chin, leans back in his chair, and he goes, if there was only one thing I could share with you kids that would have the most impact in your life, he said it would be this one thing. And he hasn't said anything yet, just sits back in his chair. And so as you imagine, everyone, it's the one thing, right? The one thing. So everyone gets their notes out. And then he still hasn't said anything. And he leans forward in his chair, and instead of saying it, he stands up off the chair and he goes to the edge of the stage in this kind of auditorium, and he holds his arm up straight up in the air like this, but still doesn't say anything. 5 seconds have passed, 10 seconds, you know what I'm saying? It's almost awkward pause, 15 seconds, just has his arm up, hasn't said anything. JV, Juan Veraken, sitting next to him, he walks over to the edge of the stage and he just holds his arm up too. Okay. And both of them, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 25 seconds have passed. Finally, one of the Costa Rican students, like an 18-year-old young woman, she stands up in the audience and she just goes like this, just holds her arm up in the air. And then another one does, another. Anyway, 500 students stand up and they just hold their arm up in the air like this. And here's what John says. If there was only one thing I could share with you that would have the most impact in your life, it would be this. Write this in your notes. Live an intentional life. He said, most people have uphill hopes and downhill habits. And then he said this, write this in your notes too. He said, all success is all uphill all the way. And you don't accidentally go up hills. You only intentionally go up hills. So live an intentional life. All success is all uphill all the way. My friends, those 4 words, live an intentional life. I started thinking to myself, how intentional am I being? I think most of us, we live in a world of reaction to distraction versus a world of intentional creation. You guys know how it is. The bullets are flying every day. We got, just 1,000 things to do versus saying, what kind of life do I want to design and intentionally create? Like, who am I and where do I want to go with my life? Like, how intentional are you being with your fitness right now? How intentional are you being with your customer service? How intentional are you being in those important relationships, marriages, kids? How intentional are you being in hitting those income goals? Or maybe in your faith journey? Are you really living an intentional life? Or are you just, I don't know, just more, another day passes, another week, another month, another year? John did a training in a media library that we used during the launch called Failing Forward. Like, how do you turn mistakes into stepping stones for success? We all go through this entrepreneurial journey where we're making some mistakes. It's just part of the game. And how do you get intentional with turning those into stepping stones? Second thing I want to encourage you to think about is this. I want to help you to discover your superpower. So check this out. We all have a superpower. The challenge is most of us haven't tapped into it for a long time. Do you want to know what it is? It's a superpower that can make you go to a whole different level of your career. Here's what it is, my friends. It's focus. Your superpower is your ability to get hyper laser focused. Now, most of us are looking at the world through screens. We're missing the power of what we're doing. And by the way, I built businesses that we've done billions of dollars on social. So in other words, I'm not negative on social. I'm not even negative on phones. I'm negative on distraction. 3 words I want to encourage you to write down. Focus magnifies effort. I know you wouldn't even be here with us right now. We wouldn't even be having this conversation if you weren't putting in the effort. I know who you are. I know the work you're doing. The effort, the heart, the drive, the passion, the hours, the work. However, most of us were doing this without magnified effort. If you take the rays, the sun can generally heat the whole earth. The sun can generally give power to the whole, or light to the whole earth. But if you'll magnify the rays of the sun, the general power that can heat and give light, the general power can burn a hole through steel. What happened is when you focus the rays, you magnify the effort. The focus will magnify effort. So instead of being generally focused, we get laser-like focused in our businesses. Bruce Lee said, this is such a great way to say it. I fear not the man who's practiced 10,000 kicks once. I fear the man who's practiced 1 kick 10,000 times. That level of laser focus. Now, the only way to do this is you have to declare war. In other words, it's not enough to say, yeah, that's interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll be more focused. No, you got to declare war. The war on distraction. The way we go to the next level in our life is we declare war on the distraction of what's happening. Let me walk you through some stats. Those of you that have kids, this is really important for you to see. And the truth is, it's important for all of us to see as adults because we're just as addicted to our phones as the kids are, right? So the average teenager is sending and receiving 4,000 text messages per month. It's one for every 6 minutes that they're awake. 53% of people report they're checking their email while driving, which makes you 6 times more impaired than driving drunk. By the way, some of these studies are email and text studies. These are not social media studies. You can imagine what that looks like, right? 67% of people check their phone when they're for messages, even when it didn't vibrate. Have you ever had that happen? You're like, hold on, it's buzzing. Oh, wait a second, it's not buzzing. Now that I'm here, I might as well watch more videos, right? 75% of people admit to using their phone in the bathroom. 30% won't go to the bathroom without it. We don't want you to raise your hand on this one, but you know who you are and you are guilty, okay? 69% cannot go to sleep without checking their email inbox, and then check this one out. This next one is so alarming. 43% check their email in the middle of the night. In other words, they can't finish the night without the digital download. The fear of missing out, the digital download, and the addiction wakes them up to get the information without finishing the night's sleep. Forbes did a study called Texting While Walking. Check this out. There was 4,280 traffic fatalities for people that were texting while walking. There was 1,152 were treated in emergency rooms for walking into traffic or for walking off of a cliff. My friends, this is the world we live in, right? Now, here's the good news is it's like you're running sprints in business and everyone else is a zombie. Like if you get focused right now, it is game on because everyone else is distracted. They're addicted to that digital download. So one of the strategies I want to encourage you to do, pull out your phone real quick and go right to your calculator. This is a little workshop I teach leaders to be able to help them to understand the economic impact of your focus. Because I think that when we understand the cash money value of our focus, we take it more seriously. So your focus has economic value. It actually is worth something. So let me give you an example. Write down your income goal for this year. So what is your income goal for 2024? You don't have a super clear goal. What did you earn in 2023? That's fine too, but just write down your income goal. Let's say that your goal is 100 grand. Now, I realize some of you, your goal is way bigger than this. Some of you, it's smaller than this. I'm cool either way, but let's just use this to illustrate our point. So take your income goal and divide it by 2,000. 2,000 is the average amount of hours American worker works in a year. 2,000. So you have your income goal divided by 2,000. So right now, what this is going to give you is your dollar per hour rate, what your focus, what your attention is worth per hour. Next thing I want you to do is take that hourly rate and divide it by 60. This is now going to give you your dollar per minute rate. What is your time worth per minute? This is an important calculation that you want to get super dialed on. What am I worth per minute? So if your goal is 100 grand, you're worth 83 cents a minute. Now, the average American is spending 1,300 hours a year on social, which is 3.5 hours a day. This does not include television, by the way, my friends. This is just social. If your goal was $100,000 per day, your social media consumption is costing you $178. You say, no, it's free. It is not free, my friends. Do you want to know why? Because it costs your focus. You pay for it with your focus. A week is $1,250 and a year is $65,000. Is there anyone in here that would like a $65,000 raise this year in our career? Come on. The way that we get that is we get highly focused. We say, I'm not going to burn that cash. We would never pull it out of our pocket and burn the cash, but poof, we would do it in 17 or 27-minute increments, watching reels on TikTok or in our Instagram. And by the way, we've all been guilty, so I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just relating the information. What would happen to your life? What would happen to your business if you gave it the gift of your focus? You got hyper-focused and completely dialed. Okay, number 3. First thing we got to do, you got to live an intentional life. You got to learn the one thing. Number 2, you got to get focused. We're going to go next level, empire level, not just, lay some bricks, build some empires. We got to get focused. And then 3 is you got to know who you really are. You're the one. You've got to go be the one today. So by way of story, my son, this is when he was 16. He's now 20. One of the mornings, it was Memorial Day morning. I said to him, hey, bud, would you like to go visit your 5th generation grandpa's grave? We'll go, decorate the grave with flowers. He says, yeah, let's go do this thing. And when you hear the story I'm about to share with you, I don't want you to hear a story of my son or my kids. I want you to hear a story of your son or your kids. I don't want you to hear a story about my heritage. I want you to hear a story about your heritage. So as we're driving there, I tell him the story about a man named George Prince. George was my fifth generation grandpa. He and his wife, Sarah, moved from England to South Africa in 1841, the Eastern Cape of South Africa. They were instantly engaged in the Hosha Wars with the native tribes. 1850, his brother John was shot in the eye and killed with an arrow from the Hosha warriors. 1853, after a long day, on the ranch, George, he relays a story in his journal. By the way, this story I'm going to share with you is from his journal and his daughter's journal. Okay, this is just the story as they relay it. He hears a voice behind him that says, "George." And so he turns around like this, and he says that he sees an angel. This is just what the journals say, okay? The angel says to him, "Hey, there's a message of faith. Two men are going to come to your home. This is the hats they're going to wear. This is the jackets they're going to wear. This is what they're going to look like. They have a message of faith that this message is true. You and your family need to accept this message. It's a message of Christian faith." 1855, he's on the front porch of his ranch, and two men come walking up, and he says to my fifth generation grandma, Sarah, he says, "That's the two men from the vision." He and his wife accept their message, and in 1860, they travel from South Africa to Massachusetts, from Massachusetts to Nebraska, and then the last wagon train west, 1860, to come towards, ultimately to Salt Lake City. For all the mamas listening, Sarah has 5 kids, and she's pregnant with twins. You can imagine this voyage, right? She ends up having the 2 twin babies in the wagon train west. The 2 twins both die shortly after death. They dig hand-dug graves and bury these 2 little lifeless infants, knowing they'll never visit these unmarked graves again. They get to Salt Lake City. Sarah never emotionally or physically recovers, so she passes too. So my friends, imagine you're George. You're trying to improve your family's economic situation. You're trying to be true, in this case, to your faith. You're trying to be the one in your life. Your brother's now dead. Your 2 babies are now dead, and your wife is now dead. My friend, it's not always easy being the one. It's not always easy to change everything for your heritage. In fact, I would probably argue it's hard. It's hard. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of resilience. And Les Brown Price says it best. He says, if we do what's easy our whole life, our life will be hard. But if we're willing to do what's hard, our life can be easy. So my son, he's 16 years old. And those of you that have teenagers, you'll appreciate this. He takes off his hat and he sits it down next to this man's tombstone. He's never met this man. This is his 6th generation grandpa. He kneels down almost like he's saying a prayer, and he has this moment. It's super sweet. And when we get back in the car, I said to him, I said, "Hey, bud, what was that experience for you?" And he said, "I was thanking George." He said, "I was thanking George for his faith, for his courage, and for his resilience. I was thanking George for being the one for our family." My friends, what decisions do you have to make right now that 6 generations from now, your little grandson or your little granddaughter kneel down at your grave and say, "Thank you for your faith. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your resilience"? What things do you need to add to your life? What decisions do you need to make? What courage do you need to have? What things do you need to take out of your life? I'll share this with you. The word decision, this is for your notes. Decision meant to cut. The D means off. It's a Latin word. So the decision meant to cut, the D means off. When they created the word incision, the incision cut in, a decision cut off. What does that mean? It means it cuts off all other possibilities. It's like you come to a moment of your life and you make a decision to go right, you cut off all possibilities of going left because you chose right. My friends, you've never been this old before and you'll never be this young again. And you can't always control what happens in life, but you can control what happens next. Why? Because you can make a new decision right now. Make a decision to be the one. Be the one that lives a life. Be the one that writes a story. Pick up the pen of your life and say, "It all changes right now. I'm the one. And I'm going to go make this thing happen. The abuse stops with me. The addiction ends with me. The financial principles that our family sets our family free, it starts with me. I'm the one. I'm going to write a new story, flip open a new chapter." We talked about an empire. When it comes to the financial principles of your empire, when it comes to building the financial principles, I want to share with you some quick concepts that completely changed and completely radically changed my life. It's 3 steps that a billionaire mentor of mine taught me. And he was a self-made 1st-generation billionaire. He actually came from real estate, and he made about $70 million in his career, but he died a billionaire. In other words, I get 70 million. I get that's great, but listen, to die a billionaire is a whole different game, right? He taught me some principles. I'll go through these quickly because I think the economics matter. So we're not just building an empire of faith, which I think we should do, or of courage and all those, but also economics. Let's build an empire of economics for both ourselves and our family. So he says what poor people do is they have income and the income pays the expenses. I remember hearing this. I was like, that's not what poor people do. That's what I do. I make money and I pay the bills. He said what rich people do is they make income. The income builds assets. The assets pay the expenses. And so there's two ways to build assets, right? You can invest your money or build businesses. And I know many of you come from the real estate world. In other words, you know the game of building assets. My friends, what if we were to increase the income goes up so we have more money for assets, and then the assets get to a point where those pay our bills. Those are big enough to pay our bills. Second thing is this. What poor people buy, he said to me, was they buy stuff. What middle-class people buy is they buy liabilities. What rich people buy is they buy assets. A friend of mine said it this way. These are 4 words I want to encourage you to write down. He said, get money, buy income. Get money, buy income. Huh, interesting way to think about it, right? You make some dollars, but you use the dollars to buy you more dollars, right? Buy you some income. We talked about identity. You're the one. Sometimes you don't recognize the true identity of the person next to you. Let me give you 3 mantras. 3 identities that you can use to really go build an empire in your life. 3 of them. I want to encourage you to write these in your notes, right? These are really important so that it pulls you through the tough times. The first one is I dream. Write in the chat, I dream. My friends, your dream is fuel. It's fuel for your soul. You're not going to build a business on empty. You're not going to build a life on empty. Your dream is fuel. You want to build a dream big enough that inspires you. Tony Robbins says people are not lazy. They simply don't have dreams that inspire them. And then also a dream big enough to inspire other people. You dream, that's the next level of dreaming, is a dream big enough to inspire you and the one big enough to inspire others. Say, I dream. Listen, you got to fight for this stuff. Go for your goals, go for your dreams, fight for your family, fight for your finances, fight for your future, fight for your freedom. Les Brown says it this way. He says, if you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time and your peace and your sleep for it, if all that you dream and scheme is about it and life seems useless and worthless without it, and if you would gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it and give up your terror of the opposition for it, and if you'll simply go after that thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope, confidence, and stern pertinacity, if neither famine nor gout, sickness or pain, a body and brain can keep you away from the thing that you want, if dogged and grim, you beseech and you beset it, with the help of God, you will get it. My friends, say, I fight. You got to go fight for this stuff. It's not free. You got to earn it. And then lastly, as I finish, man, you guys know how it is. Most people are big talkers, small finishers. They talk a big game and they don't finish. Listen, it's identity. I'm a finisher. I don't just start stuff, I finish stuff. I don't just give my word, I keep my word. You're a finisher. You finish things you start. Brother, what an honor. My friends, what an honor to be on with all of you.